Similarly, we have a state court system, all 50 states, and I think Puerto Rico is technically a commonwealth as well. They have their own judiciary system there. And those courts are there to interpret and uphold state constitutions and state rules and laws, as well as most of the criminal matters that people are charged with happen at the state level, because there's actually not as many federal crimes as there are at state level crimes, which is just an interesting thing. So in that two-tier judicial system, all federal judges are appointed. They're all appointed by the executive branch and confirmed by the legislative branch. All federal judges. In Pennsylvania, all judges are elected. In a way, it's kind of nice because they are supposed to be somewhat independent of the other two branches, but it's also a little concerning at first blush because, well, they're political, so they're trying to make sure that they're reelected. The fail-safe for that in Pennsylvania is that most of the actually all of the judicial positions, you run once and then you're subject to a retention vote at the end of your term. Our Supreme Court is known as the Supreme Court of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Commonwealth is just a fancy word for state. There's no difference really. There's 4 commonwealths in the United States, I believe: Virginia, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, and Massachusetts. Yeah. So the trial level court, so you said the Court of Common Pleas, we have 9 spots this year that we're looking to fill. This is where you go in when you're going into the judicial system, right? The Court of Common Pleas is a court of general jurisdiction. So they hear pretty much all cases except for those that are not specifically allocated to the Court of Common Pleas. What does that mean? So there are courts of limited jurisdiction. They're only there to hear certain specific cases. As an example, bankruptcy cases are all heard by federal courts. It's by federal law. All bankruptcy cases are heard in federal court. So if you're filing for bankruptcy, you're not going to the Court of Common Pleas. But if you are if you are indicted for having committed a crime, or you are looking for redress by suing someone, or you're a defendant in a civil lawsuit, you're going to be in the Court of Common Pleas. And then the Court of Common Pleas also handles other things like on family law matters. So here in Philadelphia, there's 3 divisions in the Court of Common Pleas. It's the trial division, the orphans court, and the family court. So the trial division includes both civil and criminal. The orphans court kind of it doesn't deal with orphans. I mean, it could, but it deals with the resolution of the rights of property or people. It's a little bit of an esoteric idea, but generally, if you're need to put a will into probate, you're going to be in orphans court. And then family court deals with marriage issues related to juveniles, adoptions, and that kind of thing. There are over 90 judges in the Philadelphia Court of Common Pleas. We have 2 buildings where they are. The civil division of the trial division, there's civil and criminal. Civil is in City Hall and criminal is in the Criminal Justice Center, which is around the corner from there. Interesting to know, when you run for Court of Common Pleas judge, you don't run to sit on any particular division. Once you're elected, the presiding judge for the Court of Common Pleas, who is elected by all the sitting judges, assigns you to a division. That's something that's worth noting, right? I mean, like I said, I'm a recovering lawyer. I was a civil litigator. I was a civil defense attorney. I've never appeared in front of a criminal judge, in criminal court, not as a defendant either, thank God. I don't know anything about the criminal law, right? I mean, I don't, it's just the truth. I'm sure that if I had to, I could figure it out, but I don't know if that's I don't think any of you want me as your judge in a criminal case, right? Well, I'm telling you, you don't. Yes, so it's not speculative there. But I do know enough about the civil laws, and tort law and that kind of thing. So when you're talking to people who are running for judge, ask them what kind of background they have. It really matters. And a lot of attorneys don't ever go to court, right? I mean, even as a litigator, I very rarely went to court because my job was to try to shepherd the case so that it's settled, because it was always in the best interest of both parties, saved everyone a lot of money. And honestly, I think a lot of the issues on the civil side are issues that really don't need the court to redress. That's my opinion, however. I think other people may differ on that. So when you're talking to people, ask them what they do. You're going to find that a lot of criminal defense attorneys and former prosecutors run for judgeships. Why? Because that's all they do. All criminal defense attorneys and prosecutors do is go to court. That's literally their job. So they understand the inner workings of a courtroom. You're also going to meet a lot of people who are in family law. Also, that's what they do. They may not be trying cases, but they're constantly in and out of the courts because their practice is very motion driven, right? We're talking about really sensitive issues when you're talking about the safety of children, issues related to like marital or family conflict. Those lawyers tend to have a lot more experience dealing with the courts. If you're talking to someone like me, like I probably have an idea of what the courts do, but my interest is very different. My experience is very different. That's not to say that I don't think a civil defense attorney wouldn't make a good judge. I think they actually would, because they understand. I think they understand how to manage and settle a case and really preside over a dispute. It's just that those are the different kinds of things that you need to be thinking about when you're thinking about what kind of judges you want, right? And diversity in that is really good. I also think that, personally, I think that attorneys who work for public agencies or nonprofits also do a pretty good job because they're used to doing things on a shoestring budget with like no staff, super lean. They tend to be really resourceful. So in addition to the Court of Common Pleas, which is, like I said, our trial level court, we have another trial level court, which is a court of limited jurisdiction, which is called the municipal court. Only Philadelphia County, so Philadelphia is coterminous, like the city and the county are coterminous, which basically means the city of Philadelphia is the county of Philadelphia and vice versa. So Philadelphia County and Allegheny County, the area in Pittsburgh, I think the city of Pittsburgh, are the only two jurisdictions in the state that have municipal courts. The rest of the jurisdictions have something called magisterial district courts. If you don't live in Philadelphia and want to learn a little bit more about DJs, you can come ask me and I'll be happy to talk about it during the break or after our talk. But here in Philadelphia, we have municipal courts. Those judges are also elected. People tend to think of municipal court as small claims court. I think that really does municipal court a huge disservice. It is a court of limited jurisdiction, so they don't hear everything, but the stuff that they do preside over is really important. If you are an adult who is arrested for a crime, you are going to be processed in municipal court. That's where indictments are handled. If you have any kind of landlord-tenant dispute, you're going to be in municipal court. If you have a dispute that involves an amount in controversy that's less than $15,000 or $12,000, you can be in municipal court. And that's important, right? Because most everyday people have conflicts that don't involve hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Like if you're a small business owner or a homeowner and you have a dispute with somebody, like a contractor or a party that you're doing business with, odds are that like it's going to be a limited amount in controversy, and so you're going to go to municipal court. So those judges and what they do is really important, and they have a high volume of things that they see as well. Municipal court judges are elected for 6 years. And then subject to a retention vote. You will see that there are people who are running for both Court of Common Pleas and municipal court judges. There's a reason for that, okay? Historically, the only thing that seems to determine who gets elected to judge in this city, the primary thing that seems to determine is ballot order. You're looking at the ballot, that's a lot of names, right? You probably haven't heard of most of them, haven't had a chance to talk to any of them. How do you determine who's going to make a good judge? Like, what are the criteria, right? Like, if you're talking to someone who's running for DA or even controller, that person's going to have a platform. They're going to have ideas and things that he or she are going to implement or stand for to better the city. Judges shouldn't have platforms, right? Judges should be coming in and being in the pursuit of justice, whatever that is. So individuals who are running for judge aren't coming in and debating the nuances of like decarceration, although they may have beliefs about that, and let's hope they do. They're really asking for your vote of confidence based on their temperament, based on their track record, what they've done, their context to the city, and the motivation for why they're running, right? Judgeships are good jobs. They're well-paying, as is the controller position and the DA position. And they should be, right? Because we want people who are well-compensated. We want to attract good candidates. And we want to make sure that they're compensated to the point where they're not led astray like our current DA. The DA makes about $175,000 a year. To me, that's a lot of money. That's just me.
The city council makes about 180.
Yeah, that's right. So some of the gentlemen up here just pointed out the city council makes about 108, like people who serve on the city council. Not a bad job if you can get it, right? Out though that Pennsylvania is one of the few states in the country that actually has a professional legislature. So in most states, if you serve in the state legislature, it's a part-time job. You know, you get elected, you do it, but you're really supposed to stay in your district and be, you know, an active citizen. Pennsylvania, that's not the case. And they get paid about $95,000 a year. We talk a lot about the Constitution, so there's like the US Constitution, there's a state constitution. So Philadelphia has something called the Home Charter, which is like our city constitution, right? That sets the rules and organizes our city government. Per our charter here, the mayoral position is the only position with term limits. They have a 2-term limits. None of the other positions are on a term limit. You know, we can argue the pros and cons of that. I think that fresh faces are good, but you know, that's me. So I think people have different minds of those about that thing, but about that issue. Sorry. So before we move on from the courts of general jurisdiction and, you know, limited jurisdiction and municipal versus court of common pleas, are there any questions?